Andy Palmer. I'm standing for Central Bedfordshire and Dunstable Town Council as a prospective council. Leona Sydney, which is a great one because that's my middle name. We had a bit of a laugh about. And you're standing for Central Dunstable, but for Dunstable Town Council. Yeah. Okay. Right, so we've got a massive crowd this month.
It's the biggest you've ever had.
It's the biggest I've ever had. I've had more, I've been talking to the mum about it. So, what I'd like to do is just run over a few things that have happened in the other meetings earlier on this week, and some of the points that they've raised, and maybe some of the things that you guys are going to want to raise as well, and hopefully when, after the elections, if we are lucky enough to get elected, we can then push those things through for you. How's that sound? Good. It's your meeting, not mine. Right, so just made a couple of notes of some of the things that have come up in the last couple of meetings. The grants that the council gives out, how they're spent. You know, let's have a look at those and let's get some transparency into them, so people know where their money's going. Activities for children. Children, grandchildren, you know, we need to make sure there's enough for the young people to do. But things that they want to do. Yeah? I mean, John, a few years ago, was speaking to a bunch of teenagers about what they wanted to do instead of hanging around shop corners. They wanted a mover. Multi-use games area. That's going into effect this year, isn't it?
Yeah.
The what? Games?
There's multi-use games area.
The
So
one in the building, did they put it, what did they put it in?
It's going to go into the Luton Road recreation ground, Kingston Park. It's been renamed.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and it's what it is. It's a five-a-side football pitch and a basketball court with like a cage around it, but only so high. And on some parts they'll have like cricket stumps and other things that various children of different ages can do different things.
Yeah.
So what they want.
Yeah.
You know, they might not want a youth club as such, they want to get out and get out in the fresh air. It's great for them. The 4-year business plan, which the council set every 4 years, of what they want to do, what they would like to see happen over the next 4 years of business. Quite often they say that things get put into that at the very beginning, but only get actions at the end of the 4 years. It's coming up for the next election. There's just a good point. Yeah. The Priory Garden building, where the surgery is now, because they're going to be moving to the hub. What's going to happen to that afterwards? Because we don't know.
You don't know who owns it, I don't think.
I have no idea whether it's council owned or privately owned. The planning application for these 60 new flats on the old Magistrates Court and ambulance station, that was raised. One of the things that I noticed about it, I was reading through the Planning Act, is that although Central Bedfordshire are putting this forward under Vesta Homes, which is the Central Bedfordshire owned building company, of which 2 of the present TBC councillors are directors, it goes against their own planning regs. 60 flats should be 120 parking spaces.
They've got lots of big drains and sewer things like that. I think they discovered that they can't put as much on as they expected.
As they hoped. But the thing is, the CBC's own planning regulations. So if you wanted to build 4 flats in your back garden, you'd have to provide space for 8 parking spaces.
No.
Yeah? Because that's Central Bedfordshire's regulations on planning.
Yeah,
but they've already gone against it. They're putting this through with 60 parking spaces for 60 flats, that's only one. So they're going against their own guidelines. So that means challenging.
It's actually more than that.
So it's 2
well, they put out a new...
It's 1.5 for 1, 2 for 2 bed, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but they put in a new proposal for parking. They had a consultation last year, and in the consultation it says it's a parking space per bedroom for each dwelling.
Really?
But also it's half a parking space for every 4 dwellings, with a minimum of 1 if you get like 8. So actually, if you had your 4 bedrooms, you'd have to provide another one for visitors. So they, at the moment, for that site, they've said 60 car parking spaces. As you say, it's totally 120 plus,
The 20 on that horizon should be 138.
something like that.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're going to try and get that planning permission through before they bring in any regulations on new, and it's the new regulations
They'll
actually.
put electric charging points on with them.
There'll be electric charging points, but it's actually the new proposals for parking is for all new property developments, and you think they kind of wait until they get that in and then put in the commercial the property. It doesn't make any sense why they go and get their own rules.
Yeah. Good for them, but not good for everybody else.
I just don't want any more blocks of flats.
No.
Full stop.
We can't ghost town. Building flats on every piece of available space they can find. All we'll ever get is people that come into Dunstable to sleep, work in London, come back, sleep, weekend, go somewhere else. Because the town will be dead, there'll be nothing here. We haven't got people living and residing in it, how are we going to entice people to stay? Actually, we'll live and work in the area.
Not very good for families.
No, stop. Families are the backbone of this country. Warehouses they keep building. They've all got lovely big flat, slopey roofs, low angles, plenty of drainage. Why are they putting solar panels on them? Why isn't that being put into the planning application? They must provide solar panels and heat pumps. Yeah, make them self-sufficient with electricity for their lighting or have you.
But isn't the situation that developers are to be given the go-ahead, if at all possible, they are to be assisted by the planners in implementing their schemes, not the other way around?
Yeah, so this is what we want to see there. This is going to help you because it cuts down your electricity bill. Yeah, it may cost you a figure, God knows what it is, to put those solar panels on, but we're all told that put solar panels on, we'll recoup the money rather quickly. So why aren't these contractors going, that is a fantastic idea, why didn't we think of that? Because it might cost them 30 quid more at the beginning to get 60 quid back in 2 years' time.
Yeah.
But it's money at the front, isn't it? New houses, same thing, solar panels and heat pumps. We want to make everything less reliable on fossil fuels, so let's put this in the planning application.
Not a slimming candidate,
It's the wrong one. It's the wrong one.
Are you sure?
You're after Slimmers World,
Yeah.
down the other end.
Yeah.
Mark's still down there,
What, down that way?
down that way, yeah. Right, any questions on that? That's a little start.
Is there anything being voiced about the old council headquarters? Local?
Yeah, I believe that was brought up earlier in the week, wasn't it?
Yes.
Somewhere. First, I don't know what's going to happen to them. There was an idea somebody's going to make into another supermarket because there's nothing at that end. Not even a pub at that end now, nothing.
Yeah, it has been a concern. Well, it was a concern of ours when we were elected before we were elected last 4 years ago, and why we were against the health hub, because there aren't enough doctor surgeries or any health clinics or anything like that for all of the areas on the periphery of the town, whether it's in the north or the south or the east. We haven't got doctor surgery. There isn't the doctor surgery on the outskirts, and it would have been. We would have thought it would have been a good idea to put the doctor surgeries further out, add a bit of a clinic next to them, one of the specialist services, rather than saying you have to put it all in the town centre, because if you've got a maternity issue, you're only going there for the maternity issue. You're not going there because you've got dementia as well. You know, it tends to be you've only got one thing wrong with you at a time, so therefore it doesn't make any sense to not put them. And so, what in-house would be an ideal place for having a doctor's surgery, a supermarket, various things to help the community, because up there is nothing.
So a lady came to our meeting last night, and she came from the north to the east and told us we don't have a shop. So the East Ward has 5. Tesco, Sainsbury's, Asda's, Aldi, and we've got 5. In the North Ward, they have not got one principal supermarket. So, what I think if we get enough independent candidates elected to the town council, we will push to buy them. with government funding. Government funding is available for town council to take on capital investment projects. If it's a loan, it would mean the people in the town borrowing the money effectively, but we could buy it. And I thought of 10 things today while I was at work: supermarket, doctors, pharmacy, a small performance area, because there's no small performance area in the north. Our grounds team have a very ageing building that they would want to replace within 10 years anyway, the Creasy Park. So we could move the grounds team to a proper permanent, and there were 5 other things. And I'm sure you can think of a couple of years ago. One thing I would like to see somewhere in the town is 3 crash shelters. So this would a council officer would be on call. Someone's sofa surf has fallen through, they've been pushed out onto the street. That's the 3rd of January. Somewhere they can go and ring doorbell, so they've got nowhere to stay. The council officer can open the door, they've got a room with a bed and a toilet and a shower for the night. And there are only 3 homeless people in Dunstable, but we met one the other week. We found one. One of the guys who's actually going to stand for us in the north, before we spoke to him, he wasn't going to stand at this point, but we went into his Indian shop in Dunstable Tandoori, and there's a guy on the sofa. And we were talking to him and saying, you know, you can stand for us. And John had already spoken to him about it. He was like, oh, I don't know. And it was like, who are you? He's like, oh, I'm homeless, I just sleep here. This Zach, he lets the guy stay on the sofa in his shop because he can't put him out on the street in the winter. So the residents are already doing it, and our people are generous, giving people. And we would like, I think, most of us to have those. If you go there, if you're stuck, it's -3. Ring the doorbell, the council officer will look at you and say, yes, you are clearly a homeless person. Get in there for the night, get yourself warm, and we'll make progress on it tomorrow. I did propose 5 warm spaces for this winter, and I will be doing so again. Which would be Downside Community Centre, our own council offices, the youth portal, the old ambulance station, there's another one, I can't remember where it was, and Watling House. And, again, yeah, the powers that be, the current way of thinking is, oh no, central police. Now he went off, trudging down, and got one of the major supermarkets, shall I say which one? No. One of the major supermarkets promised us free tea bags, free coffee, free milk. Yeah. We'd have probably got soup and rolls off them and chocolate butter. And we could have laid that on as a town council. Don't need to do anything else. Pop up, have a soup and a roll, cup of tea, get yourself warm. So you can come out of your house for 6 hours, turn the heating off. And that's what independent people want the town council to do.
Yeah. We should be looking after the people in the town.
Yeah. So if we vote independent, we'll have a go, I think we'll have a go at buying.
Who's going to take over the hub anyway? There will be most of the doctors outside have been forced to go there because their premises.
There's only one doctor's surgery going in.
They won't go.
The rest won't go. They were all, when the council, Central Bed, sold the idea of the medical hub to the town, it was that all the doctors in that area were going to move into the hub. There's only one priory. Only one to move. So we were promised 5-star champagne, we ended up with orange.
But technology has changed, medical technology has changed faster than most other technologies. If you're going for a lung screening now, you go to Sainsbury's, it's in the car park. It's a trailer, it's 2 trailers, but you know, it's no longer, it has to be a big machine in the hospital. A lot more of this technology is handheld, comes out, and it won't be long before they start scanning in the home. So really, doctors can be divested into the community. Because if you go for your lung screening, it won't be looked at by someone in the van. It won't be looked at by someone at the ND necessarily. The specialist hospital will scan could be anywhere in the world. So the technology's changed. It's not like years ago when we had to get the doctor right next to the patient all the time. And that is causing a problem in that the doctors tend to centralise in one place. And the doctors would rather be out in the community. So rather than building a hub, we would suggest putting the doctors out into the community. You know, we like one in Catherine Drive. And so would everybody else who lives anywhere near Catherine Drive. They don't want one over there, they want one here. So that's just understanding the people, what the people want.
The hub's disastrous for us down in the south because
Might as well
if
get
anyone
one.
gets on the bus, they've got to go all the way to Luton before it comes back to Ascot.
Yeah.
And then they've still got to walk a quarter mile.
So apparently they're going to run the bus down to the roundabout now. So it has got, they have listened to that.
Yeah, but they've still got to go to Luton and back before they get to the roundabout.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm quite passionate about, so I actually live in Central Ward, live on Victoria Street. So it's one advantage I've got of actually knowing the area.
Can we help you?
How you doing? Just checking to
Do
see
you wish
what's
to
going on. Yeah,
change the voting?
yeah, I'll be voting.
Can you close the door, please, Patrick?
Yeah?
Can you close the door, please?
We do.
Thank
That was her husband, so no big room. One of the things that I've picked up, so I say, live in the area, the thing that I can see is going to be an absolute disaster unless we do something about it and get rid of Mr. Young, is the traffic coming in and out of either end of where that is, whether it be College Drive or Queensway, onto the High Street, north and south. Yeah? They're going to put the hub down there. They want to put 60 new flats down there. They've got the All Saints View, whatever they're called, Priory View, the affordable over 55 house per flats there. At the moment, the traffic can't get out at either end anyway. Boom, that's what I thought. He's down the other end tonight. Yeah, so if we can't get the traffic out now, how are we going to get it out when there's more people going in there during the day to go to the medical hub? People going in and out of their flats. Yeah. Well, it's a simple solution for College Drive. Anybody driven up there recently? Yeah. You're coming up College Drive, White Line Retail Park on your right hand side, and you want to turn right down Boston Road. Everybody else wants to turn left. That one car or two cars can hold up everybody who wants to go left. Simple solution, let's make it left turn only. 25 yards up the road is a roundabout. So everybody wants to go down Boston Road comes out, they're left round, they're roundabout down Boston Road. Yeah, you do not sit on stationary traffic. Pumping out.
But the layout wasn't really designed for the traffic that's used.
No, so let's now make that layout designed for the amount of traffic flow it's getting. Top Queensway. There used to be a half yellow box section. So you couldn't go into it unless when you were turning right, unless your exit to turn right was clear. If you were going north up the high street, you could sit in there and block it as much as you liked, which meant people then could not get out of Queensway. Let's make that a full width, full depth yellow box section, controlled with ANPR cameras. So if you're sitting there and there's nowhere to go, you get a fine. Yeah? The thing is with ANPR cameras, yes, they are expensive to install, but they pay for themselves. Otherwise, why is every London borough doing it?
But that was done after careful assessments of all the flows and so on.
The flows that does work.
Things of motor vehicles passing at a certain time for each of the areas. So how did they make such a call?
Yeah, because the flows they looked at didn't work.
Well, I do remember when the new layout was laid out, John, that the person who drawn it up with his CAD design was unable to explain the functions of all of them, so it was taken over by one of the councillors, the chief, and he had to explain it. Even he didn't know what one of these crossings were, a new type of crossing, but it sounded new and sexy. So that's all it was. But it was done on the fly, not to be different.
It's nearly always done by people who have no intention of ever using it.
this also comes basically down to something we've been saying for quite a few years, which is Central West Council don't have joined up thinking. It seems to be that they do one thing,
Don't know that speaking
see how that happens, see what happens from there, and then do something else. The town centre crossroads is a perfect example where it hasn't really been thought through. You know, they've said about having wider pavements because they want to have a cafe culture. But if you look at High Street North, the town centre, where you've got NatWest has just closed down, there's another bank, the Lloyd's Bank, there's the Nationwide, there's an insurance company, there's no cafe. There's no cafe there, so why the pavement? So
of more chicken shops.
well, there isn't any cafe
Well,
there.
they want more,
The
isn't
first
it?
one's the Indian restaurant and then
But the whole point about all
the...
these things that Andy's saying is that there doesn't seem to be a joined up approach. You know, it's like the health hub was sort of an idea that they listed all these things they were going to do, but then they reduced these things. Like there's not going to be an ultrasound, there's not going to be an X-ray machine, so you're still going to have to go to hospital.
As I said, it was sold champagne and ended up with orange squash.
And they could put like a bus stop on the busway run behind the health hub, rather than make you walk all the way out.
These are coming
The
all
health
back.
hub was really 3 blocks of flats with ancillary things attached. And the CBC are obsessed with building blocks of flats, specifically in Dunstable.
And they got rid of the astroturf pitches.
Which is a disaster for the teenagers.
And the skate park will be next to go, I imagine.
We'll wait till the people complain about
Absolutely.
Well, the town council has a lease on the skate park till 2028. When I spoke to
That probably taken that long to fill that with residents.
our officials, said that there was an expectation that it would be extended. But as I said, we will put in a bid to buy Watley House. If it works, we'll put in a bid to buy the skate park. We won't give up if we get enough independents elected until we do the things in the town that the people really want. And we will listen to you. Well, this is our 50th meeting tonight.
But we always wanted, with these building, we wanted it built like that. I've looked, the council says this is what population wants, and we got it.
But it isn't.
No.
Well,
It's,
the
everything, council does things which people want.
population voted, in my opinion.
That's what we're told.
In my opinion, 80% voted. John said it's 75, but I'm going to stick to keep the thing called the Queensway Hall. 80%. All right, 75 pieces. It's still a massive majority for thing A. They did thing B. And that is happening. There is a planning application coming in, which we knocked back 18 months ago, 2 years ago, just the two of us. Got it talked out and objected to, and it was. CBC did accept what we said.
Tell them what the bloody evidence is.
It's on London Road, there's up London Road, there's sort of industrial, kind of light industrial units. They want to build a load of flats there. And all the people that live there will ruin their lives. And that's what we objected on. Overdevelopment, developing in an unsuitable place. And they accepted it 18 months ago. They brought it back again. I saw it today. And so now we've got to try and get to the plan side and object.
Is that near the car? People or
Yeah.
further on?
Yeah, near the car, just up from the van place. I think the van place is far.
There's one empty place there.
Yeah, it is empty because the owner won't lease it to anyone because they want to build a load of flats. But CBC support that. Whereas if I ask the residents, I haven't found a resident who wants a block of flats there and there. But CBC, they have this concept, and we've had the argument with the Conservative councillors, who are CBC and Dunstable Town Council. And he said to me, we've got to do this because it's what the government wants us to do. And we've got to do what the government wants us to do. And I said, no, I'm a Dunstable Town Councillor. I've got to do what the people want me to do. And I only care about what these people want to do, not what central government has dreamt up as a utopian solution. Because the people who live in the town know better what is good for them.
I didn't realise that Glasgow got into terrible problems. It has now drug taking primarily because they built these beautiful estates in green fields, but no shops, nothing.
Nothing for
For
people to do.
And so gangs have taken over. Yeah, it's completely opposite. But when you look at them, some are better quality than around here for being built.
And society has to grow organically. Doctors, shop, a few houses, shop, a few more houses, another shop, a few more houses, a doctor, there's prescriptions being written, a pharmacy, a school. It needs to grow organically, not we'll put a massive school over here, a load of blocks of flats here, and then we'll knock the school down because it's expensive to run, and
everybody can drive to the
look
shops.
at the situation in Hackney. 6,500 homes, number of doctors built, none. Number of pharmacies, none. Number of local shopping amenities, facilities, none. Just a load of houses. Just a load of houses, exactly what Andy was saying. Not a town, somewhere to sleep. Not a solution. And we need to fight this in the town and at Central Bedfordshire and get their heads out of the sand and looking at the reality of the community that they're trying to serve.
Where do you get your doctors from, your pharmacy people from? Maybe they're, I mean...
Unlike the government that say we're going to train 50,000 new pharmacists, where are they going to get them from? They pick a number out of the air and tell you that's what they're going to do.
If there was something
How can they back it
you would
up?
have thought that they would think, oh, that's a good place to have a surgery because there's lots of, people there. They're not putting it in. So, no, you can't just imagine them out the window.
It's part of the problem, isn't it, with the surgeries, is purely that they haven't taken on so many other jobs. There's medication for those people who have problems and so on. And that, you go early in the morning, it's amazing how busy it is for people coming in who obviously got problems, hungover, alcohol, and so on. That's the problem that takes time.
Yes, no question.
And what's going on with Central Bedfordshire Council? Is this a planned, say a 10-year plan that's going on? Or is it something they just decide on?
There is a plan from 2005 to 2035, and I read it. Funnily enough, I read it again today. They have a plan. That's why I would say they have a plan. I wouldn't say they've ever read it themselves. They're not. Section 6.4 says no intrusive developments or something. It basically describes the one they're going to do in the middle of town and says nothing like that.
Yeah, in the master plan, the health hub originally was going to go where the old courthouse used to be. But they obviously realised that if they built it there, they wouldn't be able to build 3 blocks of flats. So when they put out a questionnaire to the surgeries in Dunstable and also the villages, would you like a health hub? They didn't mention anything about 3 blocks of flats. And then when people answer their questionnaire in the way they put the questions, 85% said yes, it's a good idea. And then when they drew up the plans and put it on, and they took it out to various places and said this is what we've got, people said, hold on, you've got 3 blocks of flats next to it. Oh yeah, didn't we mention that?
And here's the truth. Everyone living in Dunstable has a hospital fairly nearby, don't they? Called the OD. Everyone in Leighton Buzzard live in the largest town without a hospital in the country. But it's quite a trek when you're having a heart attack or you cut yourself badly from Leighton Buzzard to the OD. So where should they have put the health hub? The closest hospital is the OD. Where should they have put the health hub? Did the people of Leighton Buzzard want the health hub?
Yes.
Well, judging from the fact that they had a big protest and go at Andrew Saloon after the health hub was built here, I think they might have wanted the health hub. And this is the same council. Now, you could understand it if it was Aylesbury Vale Council, for instance, or Hertfordshire. Hertfordshire haven't built the health hub we have, but we're different counties, different budgets, different. This is the same council. Ignore the whole community where they've also built 6,500 houses in Leighton Buzzard, crying out for a health hub for their emergency cover, got nothing. Dunstable, hospital on the doorstep, got a health up. I mean, it's
They've
not.
got their own councillors, haven't they? Wouldn't they supposed to do that? Don't they have
They also had a group of Conservative councillors until recently, I think. I'm sorry, I'm using my time machine for each time. Unfortunately, this is all dominated by one party, and that's not big party, because we're not. We're all independent. They've all got their own. I fight with him more than anyone
Yeah,
else.
I'm not quite sure why they can't still put something up there.
Maybe you challenge me on that, Neal.
I think there was a proposal and it got cancelled, didn't it, recently?
What was that?
There was a proposal for more health hubs or something. And
Yes.
they got cut.
They were earmarked for Houghton Regis and also Leighton Buzzard,
Yeah.
but then
Who doesn't?
they said it was about funding, but really, when you plan to do something, it's like if you plan to build a house and you bought the land, you don't then turn around and say, "Oh, it's going to take another 20 years to get the money to build a house." And that's what they're saying. They say, "Well, we earmarked the land, but we haven't got the money to
But
build
they had
it."
to cut the budget back so they could have a right increase in an election year. We have noticed with the Central Bedfordshire Council that every fourth year is what we call a fallow year.
Nobody falls for that one.
Well, I know.
It's so obvious. It's lunacy.
Well, council tax over the last 3 years has gone up 4%, 5% and 2%. So on average, it's 3% a year. This year, they've taken it down to no increase.
It's like 10% inflation.
But how do they do that? How do they do that?
It's
The way a lot of people look at it is, if they can then draw on their reserves, that means in the past they've been overcharging us.
Exactly.
Because I can remember a few years back that when it was people that were unemployed or not paid on benefit, the government paid their council tax for them. And all of a sudden that was stopped. And I did actually ask the Central Bedfordshire Council, I said, well, how come the government stopped giving it you, but you haven't had to put your council tax up? I said, that means you've been robbing us. I think the person answered that is Sparrow. I said, you've been robbing us.
well, I think all the independents are after what we call scrutiny of expenditure.
Well, it's got to be scrutinised, you can't.
And we're going to have a little bit of honesty, I think. If we get enough elected to say, let's open the books and have a look.
Yeah.
Into these private companies owned by the council, run by councillors. Let's have a look at the books. Let's just see if there's any checks that have actually been written to the wrong people.
Yeah, totally agree.
And to be honest, let's do it like this. Let's do it in a positive frame of mind. Let's just have a look at those books, sign, see everything's right, and say, look, guys, absolutely clean as a whistle. They've been completely honest with us. Let's be positive. No need to be negative and say, we'll definitely catch them out, because we won that, right? Very good strikers. An inspection will just prove that.
You get independent scrutiny. The money that's given in, I mean, a lot of things when you get money from a say, grant or something, that
Well, it
have
will
to
be
checked as to that you're
the
declaring the council.
auditor
Yeah.
comes in. The auditor doesn't check whether what you've done with it is morally correct. The auditor checks whether or not the procedures you've laid down yourselves have been followed. So if the procedures are that I can slip a few quid in my own pocket and I follow that procedure, the auditor will say the procedures have correctly followed. The auditor is not in a position to say, and it's as moral as, I can't think of any moral thing that's immoral enough to describe it. But that, I'm not saying that's happened. What I'd like to know is for a fact that it hasn't happened. I'd like it proved beyond all shadow of a doubt. And in the same way at the moment, the police perhaps might welcome an independent inspection to make sure they're not raping and abusing women left, right and centre. I'm sure the Chief Constable would welcome that, an inspection that could give him a clean bill of health. Because we'll probably find they are, but we can't prove it. You've got to prove it with a truly independent, moral inspection of what we do.
What we should do, get back to though, is that this meeting is really...
It's about them,
the reason we talk so much is because we are town councillors at the moment. We've had 4 years of banging our heads against brick walls at the council.
Hopefully you won't be on your own banging.
I will just say one more thing. So when 3 months ago, they brought us this proposal for what they're going to put on the ambulance station courthouse site. So 4 years ago, there was a proposal for what's called Birch Court. And there's been
what's happening to that?
I'll tell you.
He'll tell you. And the Birch, and when we objected to these, we were told, no, it's all got to go through, it's what the government wants, we do what the government wants. Well, you're just an independent, you don't understand politics. You've been listening to the people again, haven't you? And I can say, we've set up argument with them, we're going to hold meetings and listen to what you say. A few of them were like, you can't do that. But a few were like, you can't do that. That's not going to be allowed. I went to see the chief executive, tell them they can't do that. The chief executive, why can't they do that? They honestly believe would be illegal for us to come out and listen to the public. And they thought it was a real stupid idea because the public don't know what they're on about. You haven't got a clue what's going on. Only us proper politicians. That's what we were told. And he saw me have the argument, so I put it up with. So, where was I?
Talking about Birch Court.
Birch Court. So we objected. But we've been arguing like this for 4 years.
What did you want to happen there, Birch Court, before? I mean,
I like the pub.
last, wasn't it?
I like the pub with a nice green garden.
Yeah.
I don't see any need to build a block of flats.
It's built.
Well, it's built, but it's been empty for 2 years.
Well,
we'll
finish
so
off what he's talking about.
So they came to us with this latest proposal. So all these councils that we spent 4 years arguing with, the town council, and even some of the CBC, Dunstable Independent, went to this meeting where they unveiled this hideous monstrosity they want to build in the middle of the town. And all of them went, no, it's horrible. Described it as a Nazi concentration camp, Russian 1960
interrogation
building.
camp, they described it as.
They were all on our side. Just by simple argument, in 2 to 3 years, we changed the beliefs and views of the Conservative councillors. That's what I want. All the, and I think these guys will do it better than me, Greg. And that is.
Because we're going to listen to what you guys want. Yeah, absolutely. I'm absolutely crazy for saying things like that. I mean, how, people will say, how can a politician, I'm not a politician, I'm a bloke who lives in the town.
Yeah.
Don't belong to any political party, I've got no political aspirations. I don't want to be the next mayor of wherever, or a central government, this, that and the other. I want to stay in this town, work for this town. Work for you guys. Yeah? So I'm the lunatic because I want to listen to what you guys want. And then I will fight Hannah and Tom to try and get it through.
Because we are the community though,
Yeah,
aren't we?
yeah.
And we're like the bridge between the community and the council. That's all it is, it's like the go-between.
That's what this gentleman at the front said. The council have told him what's going to happen.
That's right.
You come up with an idea, but they say, oh no, we're still going to do this.
Because we live here and we care about where we live. It's awesome.
And it's the wrong way around. You should be telling us.
What was happening to Birch Court?
Oh, Birch Court, yes. So, it was built, as you know, over a year ago, and it's going to be accommodating, it should be accommodating people of 55 plus.
Right over the road.
Yes, like another one over 55. However, when Grenfell Tower burned down, after a few years, they decided to have an inquiry and they decided to find that the insulation, fire insulation, could have been a lot better.
Yeah.
So when the report was published, this building had already been built, but then they said, well, all these new buildings you're putting around all over the country, you'll have to now build into these new fire regulation standards. Sorry?
It hasn't got cladding.
No, it hasn't got cladding, but all the apartments will need to be upgraded
With fire stop.
with fire breaks, and so. But the problem is they couldn't find a contractor who was available to do it, And when they did, the contractor couldn't find the materials to do it, because everyone's going out and doing this all over the country now. So what they've told me is they are expecting the place to start being occupied by May, and hopefully fully occupied by October. This year.
So that's a year the work will be done. You bring it up to fire regulation.
It should be completed by October.
Yeah.
Who's to inspect that? Because the builders do their own inspection. There's no inspection properties now, no quality inspection whatsoever.
Well, the inspections will be through central beds, or it'll be contracted out like everything else.
Yeah, it was contracted out.
But it's true,
I wonder why that
sometimes
is.
they do get the actual builders,
So,
and sometimes they do get the actual builders to inspect their own jobs.
yes, you do.
People will be able to buy them or lease them.
They'll be rented.
At the affordable rents again.
You have heard that one before.
I was amazed when I looked at the new prior review. Affordable rent, 1 bedroom apartment, £800 a month. Plus an yet to be disclosed service charge, which could be anything between 100 and 150, £200 a month.
It's called Groveview, by the way.
Great, is it?
When prior review was opened,
So many
within 4 years, the service charge had already gone up 4 times, and people were complaining, but then they couldn't get out of their contract.
Which one's Groveview?
Groveview is the new one that's been built behind the health hub.
Oh, right.
Prior review is the one across the road.
Cinema.
And then you've got one
There's this. Yeah. Oh,
So £800 for 1 bedroom apartment.
When you say the
Prior review on
service
Church
charge,
Street.
yes.
when you say the service charge, is that the Central Beds Council?
Yeah.
Pay the service charge. And so there's no sort of control over there as to how high they can put it then?
A service charge should be no more than it costs to implement the service running.
No, I know that.
It's something you can never make a profit of.
No,
Whether it's Central Beds or goes out to a management company, which 99.9 of other places do, they say, okay, well, yeah, we're Central Beds, we do that, we'll put that out to a management company, they can deal with that. And that's where the management companies then think, well, actually, we're not going to do this for nothing, we're going to make a profit out of this. So there's been various TV programmes about service charges in the last couple of years, about how these management companies have been illegally making profit. So that's what we make sure we don't want to see that happening.
No, the reason I say is I used to manage a quadrant shopping centre for me somewhere. I worked for a managing agent or a property management company, but there was certain rules on us that we were only allowed to go to. You couldn't make an excess profit on it.
No.
You was only allowed to make so much and that was it. So obviously it may well be different with domestic.
For domestic properties, it's supposed to be non-profit making. They can cover their expenses, maintaining staff, the bloke that comes around and cuts the grass, that's their expenses. So that's supposed to be all inclusive because that's running the services. But they're not allowed to make profit out of it. It should be a non-profit organisation. Which is a lot of places now are starting to go to, if they still existed, the old health charities where you'd have people like the Remake. They got rid of all those where you used to get people who were less able mentally that could not find mainstream employment. They could go along there and they would help them. They were remaking furniture, office furniture. It might take them 3 days to resurface a desk, but that's a desk to then go back in the system. Without somebody then coming out to go and buy a brand new one. There's a lot of things that can be done if we listen to what people want. You don't want to see service charges going up through the roof.
No.
So with one of my big bugbears, which I've just heard today, that's the council been going around filling potholes up. It's hammering down with rain. What's the point of doing that? You need a dry surface for the key into. But they only started doing that this last week. I don't know if anybody's aware that the company, the contract they issued back in April for the next 7 years, one of the main bits of kit they were supposed to have going to sealing around potholes when they refilled them, it didn't have. So who in Central Bedfordshire did the due diligence to find out that the contractor was fit for purpose. Haven't got the right kit, you're not fit for
Well,
purpose.
that contract was awarded at the end of last year, so they
Yeah.
had 3 months to order up in the kit.
That's it. But they should have said, yes, we have that kit in place. Or it's on order. Yeah. It's like building, it's like somebody saying, oh, I'm going to do all your fire cover for you in the town. Take over from Bedfordshire Fire and Rescue, I'm going to do all that for you from the 1st of April. Come the 2nd of April, yeah, I've got the fire engines on order, they've arrived yet. It's the same principle. Sorry, exaggerated, it's the same principle. Due diligence needs to be done on every contract that's awarded. So the people in the town, Central Bedfordshire as a whole, know where the money's going. Whose pockets is going into? Yeah.
That's how, what I don't understand is this rush for subcontractors, subcontracting on top of that. It's universal, it's the greatest speaking.
What's wrong with bringing it all in back in-house again?
Everything, this new negotiated contract to do the libraries and sports centres.
Yeah.
So, never had experience in libraries, but it should be easy. And we know what happens, it just...
Well, there's a lot of wastage in the money in Central Bedford Council. A good example is marketing. The Central Bedford Council have a marketing department. Now, marketing is trying to sell something to customers that a competitor or competitors are also trying to sell the same products. So Central Bedford Council don't actually have any competitors. Because there isn't like another council within Central Bedford Council that's a local authority. So for example, the library in Dunstable doesn't have another library and another library. There's no point in marketing the library to you, because the library's there. But they're spending over £1 million a year on marketing.
It's ridiculous.
Marketing to you something that doesn't need to be marketed. So that is just wasting money, and they're employing lots of people to basically waste money.
Martin's question, why do they like all this subbing out, is it generates fluidity within the fiscal environment. Fluidity generates availability for people to dip in and take a little bit. That is why it all wants to be subbed out now. This company came about because through the 70s and 80s, which you may have been around, Martin, we lived through it, you know.
I think so, yeah.
We had all that striking, that militancy, you know, there were people in the country, members of the Communist Party, that seriously thought we could be a socialist state, like Poland, Czechoslovakia. That kind of philosophy died. But that's what caused the strikes and the wastage and the, you know, painters sleep at the lathe and, you know, in Longbridge, I remember it, you know, all the beds up in the ceiling in car factories. Well, that's gone. That's not here anymore. So we don't have that kind of wastage. And that, sub it out. I mean, how do you have a private water company making a profit? So we're investing. Who's investing? The only people investing in this are people paying the water bills. Because you're not investing, because you're giving a dividend every year, giving the shareholders money. So that's the money coming from. And it's the same within our council. There are areas like this that are being ignored, if you like. I'm not going to say abused, I'm not going to say it's criminal. But it's just a lack of thought about, I mean, if we had a servicing team, a proper machine, you know, and we can make one that's the whole thing comes along, chops the road up, reconditions the tyre, if there's such a thing, lays it back down and leaves you a beautiful new road. We used to have one, it used to come around every year.
Yes, advertised it, I've never seen it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's in the January edition of About Town, but
Is it?
I've never seen it.
It used to come around every year. We used to walk down our road next to it.
Just as small as tarmac.
Yeah. And it means you've got
Tarmac
to
smell.
6, 12 men to actually do this. But that's it, that's your cost done. Don't do the park, do the road.
Yeah.
Because,
Curly road, definitely.
because I'm looking at the patches they're doing. They're good for 6 months.
Not even that same
No,
time.
not that
Salford.
6 weeks.
That one on Great North Road, they'll put the tar in and sometimes in 2 or 3 weeks it's out again.
Yeah, that's it, yeah, regular.
Yeah, and the
term
poor
used
guy
to be-
puts a sign out, he's really sweet, he puts a sign out to say pothole, you know,
Yeah.
and it's all the
And the
time.
term used to be painting the fourth bridge. A few years ago, guess what they did? Painted with a paint that doesn't rust. And that's it for 28 years. Well, it's 28 years, I don't know, I didn't ask him, but 28 years. So that's the painting thing. And that's what we want to be doing. Proper fixes. Yes, there's a bigger upfront cost, but the savings are manyfold. Now, it's different when you're living on a budget the way we all are at home. You can't go out and buy 3 washing machines so that you can do your washing all at once. I did when I used to live alone, because I work away, come home, wash, wash, wash. 2 of them washer dryers and I had a dryer, dry that lot, all dry, right, I could go away and working wherever I was working. But I didn't have to be home for 3 or 4 days washing, I could do it all in one night. But it's the same kind of principle. If you can, as a government, as a council, borrow enough money to do the job properly, and make things, it's like buying in bulk. It's like the council going out and buying 1 egg and then taking it all the way back to the council office and saying, we're getting ready for a pancake. Right, so I'm going out there. And that's what we're doing with this pile. We've done a pile. By the time you're anywhere near halfway through the piles, you'll be doing the first one again. If you resurface the road, a good proper 3-inch resurfacing looks to me to last about 18 years on average. Kirkstone Drive is 18 years old at surface, and it's now diabolical. And I drive around Dunstable with your little electric car, causing any pollution, going up all the roads.
They trash the weight out the electric cars too.
Well, they are heavy.
It's your fault.
But it's not polluting.
Well, not here.
And I go up people's closes and turn around and come back down just to see what's going on. Because I've had complaints about that. And as an independent council, there's an onus on me to go and look. Not just to go, yeah, you got to look after yourself. When I went up Kirkstone Drive, people were moaning to me about their piles. I'm going up Kirkstone Drive, Durban Drive, and I thought,
Lucky fella.
you know, at one point I actually crossed to the other side of the road because I thought this isn't dodgy, this is dangerous. That's the condition of some of the roads. Now I've driven up there the other day and they've been along and sprayed some white stuff around, as Nick pointed out in his next door post. They've sprayed some white stuff around it because obviously he was doing it. But it goes all the way down the road and they've sort of sprayed the worst bit, sprayed the worst bit. As soon as you fill that hole, that's it. And it's a long, it's from here to those final cabinets. It's a big lump. The next bit will be as bad as the bit you just filled in.
Well, the white paint's been down so long around our place now, it's fading. And the holes are still there.
Yeah, I think they take photos and they take notes and they've got GPS and all that. But they've got all that lovely technology in this company. You know, they GPS mark the part, which goes into a database in the cloud. The satellites know about it. It can be pinpointed. But surely it would have been done better to fix it and not really worry about where the big ones. And that is resurfacing. Durban Drive needs it.
Set up a business and could make a fortune doing it.
You perhaps do a better job than they're doing at the moment.
We made a fair bit of money doing the business I did for 4 years.
Yeah.
One question I would ask is, we've seen a lot of adverts recently, but it was a pothole, tell this number, or red road. Now surely there's enough councillors around to actually spot that where the roads are bad. An example was opposite Grove House, on the road there. There was massive pothole there, and in the end I got on the Peter Hollis. I said, what the hell are you on about? I said, there's 20 of you councillors, surely you've seen it. It got repaired within a couple of days, but it blew up, they were going past it day after day, and yet they're expecting us to tell them. Now surely, I know you go around and look.
I'm a technologist, as you know, a long-term software engineer, 45 years software engineer, so I've seen the technology come, we all get fascinated with it. I've put so many systems into factories and thought, I wonder what this is for. What is the point of this? the toilet chain pull system, I do some of them. They're not useless, they do a thing. But the thing really satisfies mankind's solution, fascination with gadgets. We are fascinated with gadgets, and as you say, Neal, they've got this fix my street thing, we're all fascinated. It's a fascinating technology. For the people in the council office, someone's reported one there, someone's reported one there, someone's reported one there. None of it actually achieved anything.
Well, we've got something achieved.
It's useless technology.
Push a bit, yeah.
If you go out and resurface the roads on a reasonably regular basis, fix nothing.
The thing is, on this reporting thing, so there is a gentleman here who's got an experience of reporting blocked drains, or as the Central West Council called them, gullies, and then the response of the reason why they can't deal with unblocking the drains is because they have to wait until the drains are full of water.
Which was rain for 3 days, so they can come out.
Yeah, so
Andy's got that now.
One of the things I've got here is so about potholes and gullies, right? Coloured potholes. Well, I wish we had coloured potholes.
okay.
Right, gullies, drains, those lovely iron grids you see in the corners of the streets. Victoria Street, that's where I live. Every time it was raining today, I walked up the road and it's completely awash. Victoria Street meets Albion Street by the Polish church. Yeah.
And he's got pictures on his phone.
Yeah. Because it was the same on Monday. It was raining on Monday. Now, I looked on the council website earlier today, and it's our 3-year rolling system of when these gullies are cleaned out. Did you know that between late 2022 and early 23, 5,043 gullies were cleaned in Dunstable? Now, that is either bad information on the website or the contractor Ringway is lying.
And there were lots of cars parked over it when they turned up and they couldn't get them.
Well, the ones on the corner of Victoria Street, there's nobody going to park there because it's on a junction. There's absolutely no reason why those couldn't be done. It's right underneath the tree.
No.
Yeah, so it gets filled up.
Yeah.
But between late 22 and 23, those have been done. I've lived on that street for 12 years. Never seen, I've always seen the floods. I've never seen it clear. Which if the drains were clear, it wouldn't flood.
Ours was cemented up and I commented about it, they knew it hadn't been, they said it'd been cleared, I said it's cemented. So it goes on.
There's one at the end of Victoria Street where it comes into West Street. You wouldn't be able to get the gully cleaner down there anyway. It's solid. Absolutely solid. Every time it rains, all you get is swimming pool.
However, you see what the contractor is probably contracted to do is bring the gully supper along,
And go
put the gully supper down, and take the gully supper up. Whether or not it actually clears it, probably not written into the contract. And Nick was raised at this point somewhere along the line. So what about the evidentiality that the job has been achieved, not just attempted? Because the contractor may well be attempting the job. And you can't blame the guys doing the job. They're told, 10 seconds you've got to do that. And you've got 800 to do a day. Get on with it. Well, if he does it properly, what we call properly, he's probably going to do that every night as well, at his own cost, his own time. So he does what he's told.
But that's what it comes down to again. If it's contracted out, it's the profit element that the company's going to make, and the only way they're going to make a decent profit is cut back on the wages and the time taken for the guy to do his job.
So do you reckon that the council should actually own these soil?
Well,
Yes.
we have a group of workers in this town called town rangers. Have you seen them?
Oh, yeah, they're town rangers.
Yeah. You do, don't you?
They do a fantastic job, they do.
Are they any good?
Yeah.
They're brilliant.
Yeah, what?
I've watched them work all right. No, slow down.
And do you know how many town rangers we have?
3?
3 doing the whole town. We have ground staff who cut all the grass and do all the flowers, all sorts of things.
But the work
I
ethic
question
is
if they do the whole town now, because when we
Yeah.
contacted them to cut back some hedging in Southwood, they said that's got to be referred to CBC.
Some
town rangers are supposed to be only for the centre of town. They do have a limited. They have gone outside it, and we can send them outside it.
Yeah.
But they have a limited area, there's only 3 of them. But what we should be doing is doubling that at least. We have offers from other councils to borrow.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Yeah?
Like
They want to borrow, because it's not just the 3 town managers, the whole grounds team.
Yeah,
All the council officers, to be honest. And I will say, the other town councillors that were elected are good guys. They're just unlucky that they're in a political party and have to sing to a hymn sheet, which they perhaps don't agree with. And one of them, actually 2 of them, would have come across to us, but one of them didn't because he's not standing. But we kind of, I can get on with the leader of the Conservatives. That leader is fine, they're good guys. But once you're in a political party, you've got to sing to the hymn sheet.
yeah.
And I can't get him to sing to my hymn sheet, so he's got to be independent. And I don't think I'll get very far with Neal or he's released to either. So
The thing is, the problem is that if you've got council workers, as we have in the town council, who are conscientious, who are employed, so they're not on 0-hour contracts, and therefore they take more pride in their work, and they will go that extra mile for wanting to do things. There's a big difference between that and just giving out a job to a contract company who then have 0-hour contracts, people who don't have any pension, they don't have any of the benefits of being employed, and there's a big difference in what you will do.
and it's a question of leadership. It's about the councillors respect the officers. The officers respect the workers. We all look after each other, and the end result of that is a motivated workforce. Guys who feel, well, this is a good job. I'm doing a good job. I'm cleaning the leaves, and you're going to be walking on the way, but you won't slip over because I've cleaned them all the way. It's about generating that.
It's about this, isn't it? Cracking job,
It's
isn't it?
about, yeah.
Not. Haven't you done that yet?
Exactly.
2 forms of management.
But you can't, you're not in a position to be able to expand, or what would you be? To expand your workforce and get some of these people that do both cleaning and dumping, to actually have themselves
Bring it back in-house.
employed by the council.
I call him Parks and Gardens. I let him run everything in the world. He's got younger officers coming up around him that he's getting in the same room. Double his workforce and let him hire him out to Hertfordshire, Buckinghamshire. We'd make a fortune. We need Colton.
The thing is, on the back of here, we've got all the people who are standing, and we've covered on the back of the leaflet. Did you see it? So on the back of this leaflet, we've covered, well, we've got candidates covering all 8 Central Beds Council seats in Dunstable. And there are over 40, I think there are 48 independents standing for Central Beds Council seats in Dunstable, in the whole of Central Beds. So if only 2/3 of those are elected, then the independents would get a majority of Central Beds Council. And with that majority, you can then put all of these things we've been talking about into practice. I mean, other parties have told me it'll be expensive if you did that, if you resurfaced the roads, it'll be expensive.
In the short term.
For the first year, it was very expensive.
Once you
Yeah, but if you've then got the equipment and you can let it out to other people.
For the next 12 years, it's virtually free.
Yeah.
So if it costs 4 times as much, you know, what is it? And the council is in a position to make a business case to do that. To say, I need to buy you need 17 processes as far as I'm concerned to service the road properly. There are contracts that come along and say, I can do it before. Yeah, you can, but you can't do a rebond, can you? Well, no, but that's not strictly necessary. Strictly necessary for what? For this contract. No, but it's strictly necessary if you want it stuck down.
Come back.
So you need 17 pieces of kit. You could make them into a kind of train. There is now a piece of kit that goes on wheels and can reprocess asphalt that you've just dug up into new asphalt. You add stuff in and it's got a mix with it, whatever. It's a very interesting piece of kit. But it can go in a train, if you like, of 17 pieces of kit that go down the road, one after the other. A little under walking pace. I think we'd have a job getting much faster than 2 miles an hour. But 2 miles an hour is 48 miles of road a day in 24 hours. Well, yeah, I think it might.
But the point is, we're talking about the drains, the gullies, the resurfacing the roads, filling in the potholes, getting all the work done. If we had these things done in-house, if we were employing council workers to do this, they would be done a lot more efficiently. Everyone would be working because they've got pride in their job, because they get paid a pension as well as their salary, and therefore everybody wins.
Yeah, once we run it round Central Bedfordshire and finished, Buckinghamshire, Hertfordshire,
They might realise bringing stuff back in-house is the new contracting out.
yeah, because society's changed. We've been through the 70s, the strikes, all that nonsense. We've
If people pride in what they do, they'll do a good job for you.
and we all understand going back to just basically having a job, going to work for the local council.
It's public money, so like my car was barely 3 years old, and the damage on the front suspension was shot because of the potholes and the speed bumps.
Because if you car is damaged by a pothole, you can claim damages off the council. They will try and get out of it. So, no, it's not our fault. What we've got to do is, well, actually, yeah, it is. You're responsible for the upkeep of the roads. Yeah. There's a thing, when the car's 3 years old, it has to go for an MOT to make sure it's road worthy.
Yeah.
Surely the road should be worthy of driving on. Can't only both ways.
What I never understood was when the subcontracting ideas proliferated, the direct labour groups in the councils, the numbers didn't seem to decrease, they seemed to stay much the same. So you've got, you wonder...
They then went across to work for the contractor on different contracts, so they lost their pensions, they lost their entitlement to holiday pay, they had to work for the contract that contractor gave them, or walk. So would you rather take a 15% drop in your salary and still have a job, or a 100% drop in your salary and not have a job? That's why the staff were going across. They had nowhere else to go, because everybody was going subcontract. Start bringing it back in. Give people pride in what they're doing, and they will do the damn good job for you. Give them their pensions back, give them their holiday pay back.
And the pensions are different now as well. In those days when it was very much a case of guaranteed benefit, most jobs nowadays is guaranteed contribution. So you don't get these big pension black holes which councils were faced with, or still are faced with to a certain extent, for past employees. Because the other thing that councils used to do, rather than especially for senior officers, was, oh, you're retiring this year? Well, we'll give you a 20% increase, because then your pension...
Your final year's salary is going to be bumped up that much more.
Well, why is it just got a 20% increase in his final year? Well, it's actually, he'll be getting a 60% pension of his final salary.
A lot of places do that. Mate of mine just retired from the Met Police, and they did it as well.
Last year promotions, we used to get in the prison service.
It's all right when you're in a public service, but when you're private, you don't get that.
Because we're prison service for final year's pension, and you get people that had absolutely no idea what they were doing. And for last year, you suddenly find they've made up to a G1, Governor Grade 1. And then given a desk job, because he's been in 40 years, we've got to give him a good pension on kick out.
I'll tell you one thing concerns me, and this affects Nick as well. The town rangers. Now, I understand that they are just serving the town centre. We pay rates.
No, it's not true. They don't just do the town centre. They do all 5 wards. They take each 5 wards on a monthly basis.
So if we're getting fly tipping in Manchester, that if it's reported, they will come around and deal with it. It's a big problem in downside.
Well, that will be dealt with by CDC.
And it's something that Nick will get down. This is another thing. That, as far as I'm aware, CBC are supposed to pay for that. We pay them to do our cleaning. So does it mean we're actually paying money for CBC to do the cleaning? Then we're also paying Dunstable Town Council to do the cleaning. Or do CBC get charged for the cleaning done by the town road on their behalf?
CBC get contacted that there's fly tipping and it's going to be dealt with. Then they will think, well, who can we get to do this? We can get the town council or the parish council, wherever they are, to sort it out. Out in Regis we've got rangers as well, we've got rangers, so they can say, well, we'll get the town council to do it, and then the town council say, okay, we'll charge you to do that.
Oh, that's brilliant, because that's the problem Nick's going to get when he gets elected.
I've got
Nick
it now.
and
They telling me today, back
Yeah.
then he was for the
Because when I was,
mattresses and all
when I was a member of the Downside Residents Association, we used to have a walkabout once a month with CBC and pick out the spots, and they would come and clear it away. But you cleared something up for them, because when Nick got onto him about a little job
that.
in Hillside, he was told by the town nothing to do with us anymore.
But our solution to that is to actually say to everyone, look, if you didn't dump in your stuff, just take it down the tip.
We've tried that.
Yeah, but not everyone's got the facilities to get that done big ones.
And I'm not, can't be bothered. I mean, we used to have this in the Residents Association, so some people have to accept someone going to be like that. It's only the very small minority. But if you take a road like Bride Road, there was just one house only out there, and they put stuff up. So we used to clean it up, and next thing they put more out there. You're not going to get round that. But knowing the situation now, or what you just explained, that clears quite a bit up.
Well, the other thing that I pointed out today, apparently the pickup fee if you've got large objects is £60 a night.
£67.
Which is ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah. So and up to 12 items. If it's one item, it's still £67.
So,
It usually feels like a large item collection on a regular basis that, you know, it's going to be cheaper to run that than fly tipping reports.
Well, you've got
Well,
bread and
the
bone
last
men,
time,
haven't you? You've got bread and bone men, or
You know,
you've got other people doing that service where they pick up metal. So if you put out something that's metal,
Oh, just
on the
It's
side.
Yeah.
It's surprising how quickly it goes. It's much quicker than
my wife and I, we live on the Luton Road. We can dispose of almost anything in about half an hour.
Yeah.
We've got it out.
But things like beds and back mattresses, stuff like that, I can't see we're going to be taking.
Anything about you can get, you just put outside your door there, get rid of it.
The problem with that
Outside,
is, one problem with that is there's a case that went to court because a resident had a load of metal and stuff outside, and the guy knocked on the door, said, "Oh, can we take the metal away?" He said, "Yeah, you take the metal away, but you can take that lot away with you. Take the metal thing, but dump that lot for me as well when where you go." And he went, "Lovely, this is no problem at all, I'll take that for you now." Piled everything on the van, all the stuff that was non-metal was taken back to the next lay-by down the road, dumped.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for the resident, something was there with their address on it.
Yeah.
So they're the ones that end up in court because they trusted somebody to do something.
So
Yeah,
there
the
is
law is you have to make sure that they're properly
They've
licensed.
got a proper licence, yeah.
in my mind, there is a contract that exists between the resident and the council to take away rubbish.
Rubbish, yeah.
Okay, council need to get smart, and he's my buddy, he's going to join me on my environmental committee. And get things like anaerobic digesters down by the dump. They don't smell, they just produce electricity from waste. And actually get actively, dynamically recycling things ourselves, because there's money in it. Where there's muck, there's grass.
That's it, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah.
actually, we could recycle our own glass because it's now just ground up and used as sand for paving and stuff.
If we're clever, our waste site can become a gold mine.
Yeah.
And we say on here, glass collected. Now, obviously, it happened during our tenure as councillors that Sainsbury's got fed up with the masses of bottles during COVID and said we're getting rid of it. The other councillors had the view this was the fault of the public because they dumped all their bottles down by the glass. And I'm like, but it's not the fault of the public.
No.
Sainsbury's sent their guys out and they said, we're just not doing it 3 times a day, going out clearing up. So they got rid of it. But the councillors felt this was the fault of the public, us. And I'm like, it's not our fault, there's a contract between you taking the rubbish away. Not because Sainsbury's are really nice for 10 years and do it for you, you then abdicate the responsibility. You're still taking the money in the council tax, so you still have to do the job, even though some very nice people, the Centurion pub as it used to be, point of view or something, but because some people have put their hands up and said we'll help out, doesn't absolve the council of responsibility. But the councillors felt it was your fault, our fault, public sport for dumping our glass down by the
Being too efficient in recycling that glass.
And that is the problem. You've got councillors that see it as the public sport and there is rubbish. So the tip should be open for anything you want. No licences, because the little bit of money you make from licences must be spent many times over going out to the labour and collecting it from where it's been done.
Yeah, totally agree.
Because when they do a pick up from a lay-by or a lane, they have to do a cleanse, what's called a cleanse. And it costs more than £4,000 to do a cleanse.
Yeah.
So, because they have to cleanse the chemicals,
Yeah.
not just, apparently they're cleansing for things like lorry shop. But that's because someone in Swindon died because they picked a big lorry chop out of a bin. Was it Salisbury, yeah?
But we definitely do something in this country anyway, because you're terrible mixing everything together. Even the Chinese won't take our stuff because it's so filthy. And it's, I heard of, right from the beginning, people said it was madness what they were doing. So we have a great big place at Wilson Keynes, where they work in filthy conditions, and I feel sorry for the people who are glass on the top. And it's filthy dirty. They try and shove it from one to the other. There's no real segregation going. This problem is it's apathy. If we didn't we have more independence, I think we wouldn't have the apathetic turnout like today. People would go around and say, what's the point? It's corrupt. That's how I was told that so many times. You can't do anything. There's no point in worrying about it. Forget about it. Live your life. And that is the problem. Apathy.
This is big things 50 for me and John. And it's not heavily attended. We've had a few big ones. Normally when there's a special issue, but we will keep doing them. Not because of the great response and the massive applause and the public adulation, we're not after that. It's about what's right. And I've said that if one of you turns up and asks a good question, it's a good night out for us. And if that's sticking to your ethics, doing the right thing. And sometimes you just got to do that, and it costs a fortune.
There's also a difference. There is a big difference between independent and political parties. In a political party, you've got a leadership and a leadership team. But because we're all independent, we don't have that. Now, in the political party, with the leaders and leadership team, they make all the decisions. So once they've decided something, there's no point in holding a meeting with the public, because whatever you say, it doesn't make any difference. They've all decided.
As long as you're independent.
Agree. No, we don't have to agree. We don't have to agree, that's the thing.
Well, if John says there's going to be a new bypass, but he wants to go around the south of the town, I'll be going, no, John, you're not going to go around the south of the town. John, for a mind
Each issue only has two possible outcomes. You're either going to do this or not. You'll have a proposal to do something, and you'll either do it or you won't do it.
Or you agree something slightly.
We've had discussions about what would go on this list. And a couple of people, amongst the independents, said, I think badge parking and residence-only parking schemes would be a good thing. And I can understand where they're coming from, but we've had those questions during the 50 meetings we've had so far. People come and say, I live in Edward Street, I want residence-only parking. And I'm like, right, so if I bring in residence-only parking from Edward Street, where will the cars go? Union Street, away.
Someone else's problem.
As the councillor, all I've done is move the problem from your road to someone else's road. I haven't done anything. And people have sat there, come along with their schemes. One of them moved from St Albans, and he wrote me a really long thing about the scheme in St Albans and how good it is, and residence-only parking. And I spoke to him and I said, but if I make 6 of these cars go somewhere else, they've got to go to the next street. And I've moved the problem down the road, haven't I? And he stood there and he went, yeah. He said, I suppose from your point of view, it's not really a solution, is it? I said, well, it's not really a solution from your point of view, because we haven't solved it. It's not a solution. And as an independent, you've got to be honest like that and say, I can do this for you, I can do this for you. When you get to the point where they're saying, I want a canal going down the end of my garden, you've got to say to them, we can't, have a pond.
Oh, yeah. No, it's still good with parking when you've got little narrow streets, whether there's some areas where you can have more block parking, I don't know.
Well, what you could do there, CVC, if CVC sold Watling House to us, Sound Council, we'd have to borrow the money. Us, the people, you. So there's a lot. But it'd be a great facility for North Dunstable. Sorry, South. But they're as poor as you are. They're one of the poor parts of town. They ain't got a shop.
Yeah, ring off this one.
You know,
What would you have?
We've got a few shops.
that money from CVC.
CVC.
What, okay, so take Great Northern Road, that's a real cock up in itself.
The HGV bypass road.
What they want to do is build flats to put people in, blocks on. Buy houses, 5 of them, turn those into managed flats like we do, use the gardens as parking, and solve the problems. So you've now got enough flats because you've bought some houses and turned them into flats. But you haven't built them where people don't want them. You've made existing houses into accommodation. The gardens you've freed up for parking the cars. The cars are now not on the road. The road's a much nicer place.
Well, the front one. And the
No.
back one. You can get up the back and back.
There has to be one. You buy a house that's got a drive that goes through to the back garden. I mean, you don't do You can do underground parking. We built the system in Grosvenor Square in London. My firm.
We suggested this when the health hub was still in the planning stage.
Oh, yes, I would have done it, yeah.
Yes, they had a model and they put it at the library, and they had the architects there, they had all the leading people from Central West Council. And I went there and I saw the chief architect and I said, so let's put in what about if we put in underground car parking? Well, he said, no, it'd be far too expensive. I said, well, not really, because like, if you built the underground, you just dig out the earth, put in underground car park, one, maybe only 2 levels, then you'd have lots of space where you have a nice park. He said, yeah, but you know, it's so expensive. So, well, how will it be before you get your money back? He said, well, it'll take 30 years to get our money back. Okay, how long are you expecting these apartments to last? Oh, 100 years. Yeah. Right, so do you want to work out the maths or do you want me to?
So there's a area out by Norfolk Broads that's been rewilded, would you like that term? It's been turned into an estuary, flooded estuary. And they didn't have enough soil to do it with, even though it cost you £100 a cubic yard or something in there. But Crossrail did. So where they've done Crossrail, they rewilded this estuary. And it's how Crossrail managed to make its digging affordable. The same can apply. There's a bunch of people out in Hemsby would love us to chuck a load of digging into the sea. They love it. We can use it as coastal defence. So where we're digging holes to park cars, solving the problem here, we can solve the problem for people in Hemsbury at the same time.
There's so many,
There's so many things.
apartments in like the Spanish islands and stuff like that. They all have like 2 or 3 levels of underground parking and all their accommodation.
Yeah.
That Birch Court, that's.
And they've got islands.
It's got a small underground car park because we kicked up stinking. Put it there. Well, they didn't because they still built.
Some they don't get flooded. They got drains.
Yeah, get the gardening machines out, get them clean. Which I think that machine you're talking about, Nick, was that the super jetter?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've seen it in action, and it only deals with really something which has been skimmed, not potholes.
No,
The
there's
substrate is damaged.
the pothole one where they blow all the stuff into it.
Yeah.
But on regards to the gullies and the drains, they call a super jetter,
Oh, right.
which apparently the council own.
Yeah, so they own it after.
But why do they own it when it's a contractor that's doing the work?
Yeah, but
Do they then lease it out to the contractor?
that is part of it.
If I was owning a house down Great Northern Road, I'd be putting it in the claim because a lot of those brick walls down, where they get splashed continually,
Yeah.
it makes a road in rain. As well as poor old pedestrians who get soaked every time it goes through past them.
As an independent, you stay independent. You don't become part of a team. You work together as a team because you agree with what's going on at the moment. When you don't agree, you argue. And we've had arguments, as I say, about what goes on here during this process, which has only gone on a few weeks really. Some people have fallen out with each other. I'll be honest. There have been some fairly angry emails sent, and it all gets healed It all gets sorted out.
We started off with about 20 ideas from the 14 or 15 dollars. We had about 20 ideas. Because different people wanted different things in their wards. But we all agreed on certain things. So what we did is we got out all 20 ideas and said rank them from 1 to 20. And so this, the scrutinising council tax was the most popular amongst those. And then they go down in order of all these 8 things, which are the most popular by the ranking of all of the candidates. But there'll be some things on here which there's something on here that I would have liked to see, which was more to do with pollution and the emissions from HGVs.
But some of the others felt that press, we press on the AQMA because we live in it.
The air quality management.
And some of the things we discovered, they didn't want us to live on, so we just went, okay. Because even though we are the incumbent councillors, we're the big Gurney brothers, we're not, we're just 2 more people.
Yeah, and if they get elected, they'll be as knowledgeable as we are in 4 years' time, but also they'll have done lots more because hopefully we'll be able to run a council.
We will get a lot more done because these new guys will make them.
Because the thing is, the more independents that get onto a council, whether it be town or CBC, if, well, how many things on the council?
18 on town council.
Okay, so if we get 9,
That's enough.
that's enough. If we get 8, that means there's 10 against 8. So we come up with the best ideas on the planet and the things that you guys want, and the Conservatives go, no, can't do that, we didn't think of it.
What will happen if we get
So what happens?
as Andy says, a close one, is the other parties will suddenly become totally non-political, just all want to work together. Because that's what will happen. So even if we don't get a majority, we'll achieve most of the effect. If we do get a majority,
Well, we're still letting you know if you're not doing what you want to do.
And please do! Yeah, it's the 2 forms of management, isn't it? There's the well done form, or the you ain't doing it right form.
but from my point of view,
We'll be looking out for the potholes.
from my point of view, it's like as simple as this. You ask me to do a thing, I've got a choice to, well, I don't do it. As a council, I'm not actually done it. I've asked the officers to do a few things and they do it and it magically gets done. People have come to meetings and thanked me for doing it and I'm like, oh, I haven't actually done anything other than listen to you and suggesting to the people that do it as a job. And they're so good at doing it that they do get it done and you do get thanks. So I've got a choice. I can either ask a relevant person to do it or not. Or you've asked me for parking regulations in your road, and I can take the trouble to explain to you why what you're asking for, a canal at the bottom of your garden, is a good matter. If it's the third one, I have to do it. And what we don't get at the moment is we don't get we can't make the traffic flow through Dunstable. Because if that's the situation, tell us. It can't be fixed. If it can't be fixed, just tell us. Don't tell us that you're going to spend millions of pounds, say 2 years,
Do another survey.
fanny around and then say, oh, I wasn't quite right, I'll play with it again. Don't keep telling us you're making it better. If you can't succeed, tell us you can't succeed. Or, I've got a choice, I can go and do what you ask. It's as hard not to do it.
It's just some things that councils can't do because they don't know the language.
But it's a wonderful word, you don't hear very often in politics, isn't it?
What, sorry, I can't do it.
Honesty.
Honesty. It's easier, to be honest. People have got avoided the Anglican case.
Can I just guess that have you just about had enough of us talking away?
Sorry.
Are there any other questions you'd like to ask?
Well, just a small one. Andrew Sellers has kicked it around, of course, the usual thing with Andrew. And he said, oh, it's the council. The council kicked it around and said, no, it's Andrew. It's basically, this affects the whole country, nearly getting knocked down in pavements by e-bikes, going full speed, unregulated.
Yeah.
And there's, it makes a mockery of laws, all these laws which are promulgated in Westminster, which nobody takes any notice of, means that people don't take any notice of any laws whatsoever. Because once you start...
Do you mean
That's where it
e-bikes?
starts, unfortunately.
E-scooters and
Or
e-bikes.
e-scooters.
It's e-scooters.
You see, e-scooters to me don't seem to be a problem. They're a little scooter. Reasonably responsibly, they're fine. They're a danger to the people riding them, but they're not really a danger to them. In Japan, they cycle on the pavement at full speed and ring the bell if you're in the way. If you don't get out of the way, they crash into you. In Japan, bikes have priority even on the pavement. But the point is, it's always about responsible use. It would make sense to register e-scooters, but it would therefore make sense to register bicycles.
Yep, well, it should be.
Years ago, that couldn't be done because it was so cumbersome to write everything down and keep the books. Computers do it now; it's easy. A little bit of AI, you could register all the bikes without anyone ever doing anything. It's registered by identification, and it will be identified wherever it goes. Which is what it's all about. Number plates are not about identifying you; they identify the car.
So who's busy looking at it and seeing where everything's going?
Well, we are.
One of the things about having some cycles registered and recorded is that I've had it happen to me. Yeah, cyclist comes, I'm on the main road, cyclist pulls out the side road, slaps on the side of my car. 1,500 quid worth of damage.
Oh, yeah,
Who pays for that?
yeah.
Claim on the insurance bureau fund.
Yeah, it was an MRB claim because he just sold it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 1,500 quid worth of damage. If that cyclist had been registered, or the cycle had been registered, we could have made a claim against that.
What size of cycles would you register though? What about kiddies under, say, a 7-year-old?
I would go back to education for kids. I'm a child of the 60s. Yeah? I did a cycling proficiency test run by our local copper. I was not allowed to cycle on the road, the village I was brought up with, until I passed that cycling proficiency test because my parents told me I couldn't. Yeah? We bring back that, we bring back some respect from parents to children, children up to parents.
Yeah, but
It's a
the
big picture. But
those that came up your road style motorbike weren't wearing helmets, so they were about 9.
yeah.
And he was a motorbike. He had a number plate.
Is it the three? Oh, there's
Well,
no number plate. There's
oh,
one
yeah.
bike going around with 3 people on it at the moment on a regular basis.
But the
The
other thing,
e-scooters are a big problem for the elderly in our area because they are on the paths and they are
Blind, hard and hard of
but
hearing.
if I could just say, this is national.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's national.
Yeah, it's not allowed.
It's up to government to amend the rules.
Well, no, we could do something.
Cut that bit.
I think that's good because the young people are affordable and they're quick way getting around. There's less cars on the road. Yeah, I know, but not be on motorbikes and on motorcycles.
Everything, they're not in themselves while they
If they acted sensibly, they'd be fine. But it's because they don't act sensibly.
There's
There's a lot of riders going in and out of the road wrong side.
But I think as John said earlier, that's more national than we can do it
Yeah.
ground floor down. We can push it up and let them know about it. No.
But irresponsible use of anything can be one of the hammers could be dangerous.
Yeah.
Dead end for knocking nails in.
We're here now, basically because I think the local democracy system has collapsed totally. Originally, it was, in the past, the mayor was the person who was respect. He put money into the town. He was a businessman. He may have been corrupt, but he was proud. It was his image that he was reflecting. So it worked because it's just that as the mayor now is inconsequential, nobody has respect for anybody.
Yeah, we've got to start earning your respect. I think we have done. I think John has done. I've probably bored you to tears, but I talk a lot. I think we've earned respect. I think we've certainly earned respect of the other councillors. I mean, some of them hate us. I mean, we televised the town council now, and if you get a lot
good,
of
actually.
independents elected, it will turn into a Punch and Judy show.
No, not.
It will, because we'll have a frank, open, honest discussion with disagreements.
That word again, honesty, isn't it?
And then we'll talk it through, and we'll come to an agreement which people can accommodate and believe in, because everyone's had their say. And if you lost the argument, you lost the argument. Honestly, owning up to that and saying, well, I still think they're wrong, but, you know, it's 11 to 1, I'll go along with it. You can't do that if you don't have the discussion, the conversation. The same as we can't solve your problems if you don't first listen to them. Yeah. The first step is to listen to you, the second step is to go away into a televised room, call each other, all sorts of names, get really aggressive about it, talk with passion about what we believe in, convince the majority of us to vote for an outcome, then go with the outcome. That can earn people's respect. And like I say, what's gone on in the last 50 years is hiding all the process. Oh no, we just suddenly agreed that green would be a good colour.
How many of the council meetings, central beds and ordinary council beds council, how many of the public actually sort of allowed to sit in? Can you sit in or not?
You can all contribute, can you, in the public ones?
You just sort of sit in this.
The central beds council meetings are all filmed and televised live, so you can actually, there's a...
Well, it didn't used to be, it used to rather than,
And the town council ones are also broadcast live stream.
No, on earth,
So you can watch them from home if you want to, or the comfort of watching them from home, and also you can go to any Dunstable Town Council or any parish council or any central beds council meeting and just turn up and watch what's going on.
And we've changed.
Oh, we don't as far as, yeah, what we have we think about sometimes.
The problem is the problem is at the moment you're not allowed to just turn up and then say, oh, I've got a question. Because they'll say, oh, no, you should have told us that a week ago.
We did change the standing orders in their last batch, so that if you go to the chairman of the meeting and say, I've got a question, he's on fire, she'll get fire extinguishers out. The chairman can let you speak, let you ask a question.
Yeah, we campaign about the railway and stuff, didn't we? Things like that. Yeah.
But actually, there's a joint committee, which is 5 central beds councillors in Dunstable, 5 Dunstable central beds councillors and 5 Dunstable town councillors, and they've changed their rules on asking questions. They didn't like being asked questions, so what they've done is they've changed it so you can only ask questions about what's on the agenda. Now the agenda doesn't come out until 7 days before the meeting, and if you want to ask a question, you've got to get your question in 7 days before the meeting. So, and it can only be on the agenda, so you've got to read the agenda very quickly, and if what you want to ask is not on there, you've got to wait for another.
So I say vote independent, so we can get rid of this.
So I want to change that completely.
So it's no good if you think of a question during the meeting.
Well, they used to be. You used to be able to just turn up and ask a question, but they didn't like that because they were getting asked awkward questions. So they changed it. They've done that within the last 4 years.
The main part is I'm not equipped to the special answers that John and I developed. You know, advanced special answer development lab. Things like I don't know the answer to that. I'll have to go and find out. And that is a specialist answer that I don't think any. Other things like, I'm sorry, you're right, I got that wrong. We did get a thing wrong recently. We thought the state park was owned by Dunstable Town Council. It's actually leased by them. And someone caught us out in public. And we just went, oh, sorry. That's not what we were told. And I think they went, well, you're supposed to know. Well, I know a lot of things. You think you know everything on?
Whatever happened to the cycle one up at French's Avenue?
You still there?
That's still working.
The BMX track.
Yeah, BMX track.
It varies in popularity.
Next Olympic.
These things do vary.
I think he wants to.
Chuck
His close is good.
That's it, only got we covered it.
Yeah.
So we're not to ride on.
Thank you for having us.
And it's 5-2.
Thank you for having us down here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I talk so much, but I'm happy.
Yeah, it's done now.